So we're like 3 weeks out, I think.
Oh, man,
Is that right?
that's fast.
Yeah. That's going to be here in no
That's
time.
fast. We got to book some speakers.
We got to figure out this whole speaking live thing.
I
just
think
a few weeks till we are meeting up for 500.
Yeah, I spoke with Copper Pig. He's on board, and he's a very intellectual guy. So we got Copper Pig and his podcast, and I want to make sure I say it right, so I'm going to look it up so we can put the link in. And then we have the Making It Fun gang, which I'm part of. We're going to do a Q&A, and then we have
Making It Fun. Come on, you can't have all the names of all the things. It's Making Fun. This is Making It. That's Making It Fun.
That's the name of the event. Is Making It Fun. And then us as the closer, but there's one other person I'm going to push on. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, it's exciting. It's coming up quick. Somebody said maybe we could do a maker swap. Joel Lidditz, I have Joel from Lidditz, said that we could maybe do a maker swap. It might be too. If anybody wants to bring anything to hand off to somebody else in exchange for something they make, we'll keep it as formal as that.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to, yeah, let's just do trade and barter, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What we do at Maker Camp, and that's where Joel was inspired. Everybody brings something to the Maker Swap, and then randomly there's tickets pulled at each one of the objects. And so if you have that other ticket, so they'll just call out the numbers at the end of the event. So they collect things all event long. And then if you bring something, you get something. So if you bring something, you get a ticket, and then they call out the numbers during the final part of the event. And then there's a whole long line of people just like walking away with it's like people walking away with like lamps and tables and chairs. It's like a quick moving sale. Axes and knives and pans and like all stuff that we all make. It's really cool. Anyway, so it's too soon to do that formal. But if anybody wants to bring anything to barter, show off, don't forget.
Yesterday I was talking to my parents and they were asking me, and I don't even remember what they asked me, but it was like, is there going to be this? And I said, I have no idea, because I have not been involved in the planning of this thing at all. Even you guys got on calls with them and I never could show up. So I have very little information about
tell
what
your
we're
mom
going to be
me.
doing
I'll
or
let
how
her
it's going to
know.
work.
Tell your mom to call me. I'll tell her.
Okay. Right. Well, what's been going on?
I've been pretty busy with the car. This weekend is the Rat Rod event at the Maker Camp. This last weekend at the Maker Camp, Maker Camp is the same location as the Blackthorn, so they're interchangeable. So the Blackthorn Resort in East Durham, we did a thing called the Field of Tools, which went great. I sold a couple $1,000s worth of my dad's stuff. When I say stuff, I mean random toolboxes that he bought at a garage sale and never opened, which there was a lot of those. And I just dumped them all out on a blanket and told people to put together a little pile, $20. I sold a bunch of knife blanks that I cut out on the plasma. I didn't sell any of the big machines I brought with me, which was kind of a bummer because I was hoping to get rid of them. But there was lots of good stuff there. So that's the Field of Tools. We'll do that again next August. But this weekend is the Rat Rod event at the same location. So that was my little self-imposed goal to get this car done. And the car it's 90% there as far as the coach goes. I'm working on some interior stuff, and it's all just random. It's not perfectly set by any standards. It's just me having fun with materials. And there's no windows in the car at the moment, just the 2 cab windows, one of which is broken. So there'll be some time, even though this event was my goal, I'll still keep making videos on the car when I put the glass in and do some other stuff. Keith was with me last night. We got the wiring kind of dialed in. There's a couple of little open ends with the wiring, but I'm just waiting on parts. It's really annoying when you buy a part, you think that's the part you need, and then when you get it and it's just pure garbage and it doesn't work. We had that problem with the blinker.
I have so much of that for the Land Cruisers. I just get the wrong year or the wrong whatever, and I had extra parts you can't return. Ugh.
Like a blinker thing. It's a stupid story, but Lucas from Man Made came by, and he jumped in to help. We were having problems with the wiring. When I say I was just a spectator doing all the body work. These guys are working. And we couldn't get something to work. They couldn't figure it out. And then Lucas goes, maybe this switch is defective. And they took the switch apart, and sure enough, the interior parts were all kind of falling apart. So they did a quick Google review on it to see if anybody else had the same problem. And one of the top reviews was like 1 star. Buy 2 of them. The first one's always broken. And so
Oh,
it's
that's
like a
not good.
$25 blinker lever that would bolt onto the the driving column of an old car. Anyway, so we're waiting on a new one of those, and so this weekend is that event. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun looking at all. I love to see how people get creative with cars outside, the color outside the lines, and do whatever they want. And there's lots of these like junkyard cruisers there, just with like wrench bumpers and
Hmm.
all type like crazy wheels, like slammed to the ground, like
Are
one
you
inch
going to
up.
go home with more cars than
I
what you
might.
arrived with? Yeah.
I'm having a little bit of a cash crunch, but I might buy something if it's cheap. Uh, like I said before, the threshold of pain is much higher now. So when I see something that I go, I could fix it, like the
Mhm.
house or the car. You should see what's going on at the house. Another thing. So the house has a couple of small levels because the house was patched together. So yesterday I went over there helping the stonemason build the scaffolding around the chimney. We had to raise it up another 4 feet. So he had to move some stuff. So in between waiting for him to need my help, I just started playing around with the floor, and I ended up ripping out the entire floor for this one. So I peeled back a couple of boards. I'm like, ugh, you get these 4x4 floor joists, 32 on center. And I'm like, how could I put in another joist, but those will be the flat ones and these ones in between will be the curved ones? I was like, what are you doing? Just get rid of everything. There's like the angel on one shoulder, the devil on
This
the other.
again.
Yeah. So I ripped out the entire floor by myself. It's the
How do
room
you
is,
have time to do all this stuff, Jimmy?
Seriously.
I did it in like 3 hours because it's all just old nails. It wasn't nearly as complicated as the other side. The other side had several layers of flooring on it that me and Mike had to do it together. Crowbars, constantly breaking, having to saw the floor panels to break them into small pieces. This was the original floor of this segment of the house. It was just one layer of flooring on top of floor joists, and they were all bent. It's a long story, but the house had settled, pulling all the floor joists down about 6 inches on one side over a wall down in the basement. So everything was like this. Everything was just like a bow and arrow. And no matter if I alleviated the pressure, it'd been that way for 100 years. So it wasn't, or if I lifted it up, just the floor joist would just lift up curved. So I would have had to either skim coat the whole floor to level it or just pull all the joists out. And since I had gone through that pain on the other side of the room, I did it the right way. So now I'm going to replace all those joists. And I have leftover stuff. I have enough to get me well started. I'll probably only have to buy a few more because I overbought for the other floor just to have. This one that you got to custom order this stuff sometimes in certain lengths. So I just said, make me a bunch. I'll use it somewhere else. And turns out I'll be able to use it here. So I did that. I'll send you guys a picture. And that's it. So I'm just getting ready for this event coming up this weekend. It's going to be bringing the car over there, and I put on my Betty Page. I clip in my Betty Page bangs, and everybody, all the girls dress like Betty Page. I said to Rachel, you got to get your clip in Betty Page bangs and come hang out with me. She's like, I'm not doing that. The Rockabilly girls. Well, yeah, it's been busy. I really enjoyed the build of this car. It's been a lot of fun. And I've been stalling on the house, but yesterday I got amped up after having ripped the floor out again, even though I created a tremendous amount of work for myself. I'm excited.
I have a question about the car.
Mhm.
You're putting all this work in. I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You put all this work in.
I'm going to
You're
push it into
creating
the
this.
woods.
Really?
No.
Are you?
No, but
Because that's what I would expect. You're going to be like, yes, I finished it. Now I'm just going to put it in that corner and let it rot, and then I'm going to go do another thing. Do you have plans for it, like to keep it running, to maintain it, or is it really just you just want to do it and then kind of set it aside as a thing to look at?
I'm sure I'll keep wrenching on it. And today will be the first day I get to drive it on the road. Once we're done, I'm going to go try and. There's no gas in it. I took the gas tank out so I can keep working on it safely inside. So the gas tank I put back in a couple of days ago, I'm going to put gas in it and try and start it. And obviously I drove it already in one of the episodes all around the yard. So today's the day I'm going to take it out and tool around the neighborhood with it, see if there's any issues. I got it registered and insured. I got the registration. I hired a service in Albany, New York called New York Tags and Titles, and he guided me through the paperwork. And he was able to figure it out. And that, I might have told you guys this last week, but he said, there's a little snafu, you have to weigh it. And I was like, how am I going to do that? So I don't know if we did that If we
Yeah,
talked
you're
about that,
talking
yeah.
about the
Yeah,
wing.
so I waited. So that was a big hurdle mentally because I loaded it and unloaded it alone. There was nobody around to help me, but I had to do it that day. And anyway, all those hurdles are behind me. Again, my threshold for pain is much, much higher now. The more I do things alone, the less I'll be like, nah, I'm cool. I got this. The more I do things alone, like, no. I could build this whole entire house by myself. No, thanks. That's okay. No, I
Prove it.
could certainly use the help when it's there.
Yeah.
That's it.
We
I
were
don't know if
talking
I'll have a video
yesterday.
this weekend. I'm not sure. I got a lot going
Jenny
on.
and I were talking yesterday about like just growing older. You know, our kids are getting older and they're going to start going to college in the next few years and stuff. And so we were like joking around about what we're going to do when they're all gone, like how we're going to spend our time. And like, you know, and she was saying, oh, we got to make sure that we keep being active and we go do, you know, hiking and we're going to go climbing and we're going to do all this stuff, even though we're going to be getting older. And so we were talking about the reality of like there has to come a point where you think you're still capable and able to do some physical thing and then you do it and it doesn't work. There's, you know, like everybody hits that point where you're just like, and this came up because the other day we were at a soccer game. The door to the box up at the top of the stands was locked. And so nobody could get into the box to run the scoreboard and stuff, but the window was unlocked. So Jenny climbs over the front of the thing in through the window and jumps over a table. And when she jumped over the table to land, she hit the side of a chair. And so now she has this bruise on the side of her leg that is about this big. It is huge and like purple, red, black, you know, just this nasty bruise. So that was the impetus for this conversation about like, there's going to come a point where jumping in through an unlocked window is going to be a bad idea. And she was like, nope, not if we keep doing it. So, anyway, I can do it all by myself.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that you will continue to do things by yourself and things that you probably shouldn't do anymore well past the time when.
Well, yesterday, I mean, I sent you guys pictures. You could see I was over a pit. I was working over a pit that was it was a hardy 7-foot fall if I was to fall between the joists. And on a job site like that, the first thing I rip all the floorboards up and I make sure there's no nails. First thing, because a nail will make you fall through the rafters. Because if you're trying to like walk on them like a tightrope walker with one leg on each rafter, 30 inches apart, you can't afford to get 1 foot hooked on a half of a broken nail sticking up. So as I was working the whole time, I'm like, make sure all the nails are cleared. I pull up one board, clear all the nails, sweep all the dust, clear all the nails, sweep all the dust. And for that exact reason, whereas if I start walking and my tip of my shoe just gets caught on like a 1/4 inch piece of a broken square nail sticking out of the wood. So I was super careful because I was alone.
Yeah.
And my phone was nowhere near me because I was afraid I'm going to break it anyway. And so I'm always very conscious of that. But to that point, there's a lot of pets around here, obviously. And when I remember my little Yorkie, Lucky, and I remember the day that he wasn't able to jump up the steps anymore after 12 or 13 years. And you guys have dogs, and you know, like when the dog can't get on the bed or can't jump up that 8-inch step, and he looks back, he's like, help me. And you're like, that's it.
It's sad. It's so sad.
Yeah. The roller coaster has stopped clicking. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
All right, everybody, let's have a cry. Let's go for it.
And then and I see that, and I think to myself, when is that going to be me? I swear to God, when I remember watching Lucky, he went to walk up to the stairs. He looked back at me. He tried, and he looked back at me again, and I gave him a little push on his butt. But now my cat, it's the same thing. My cat's like constantly like, she's about 13. She like looks and goes, can I make that? And then she tries and she like stops in the middle. She has this hesitation where she used to just be on top of the refrigerator everywhere. And now she's always like, can I jump on that stool? I'm not sure. Let me give it you know what? Let me wait till later. And she like stops and walks away. Yeah. I see that and I think, when is that going to happen to me?
I mean, it's going to happen to all of us eventually in different degrees, right? There'll be a thing that you can't do, but you can still do other stuff, you know, and then you just have to start making decisions about when the risk of trying to jump through a window or jump on top of the refrigerator is a bad idea.
Yeah, I could still do it.
Jump on the refrigerator?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Deteriorating is totally not natural. In the wildlife, once you can't make a jump or whatever, you just get eaten. But if you're a pet or a human, you just keep going.
Yeah.
We prolong.
That's funny. Cool. Well, David, what have you been up to?
So I have the X-Tool metal fab, and I'm working on a video for that. And the video's kind of divided into two sections. The first section is like how laser welders and laser cutters are phenomenal and crazy. And then the second half of the video, I made a little table. I sent you guys a couple photos, but many months ago, I got a bending brake, but I've never
Very
used
cool.
it.
I love that
Yeah.
idea. I've done
And
something
so
similar. It's really cool.
I cut out some legs and then bent them. I put a 90-degree bend along
Yeah.
the
It's so
vertical edge.
satisfying to use a brake, isn't it?
Yeah. And then there's got bent little tabs on there so it can connect to the top, and a little tab for the feet. And it is really satisfying. That long bend it takes a little bit of muscle because I'm using I don't know my gauges. I think it maxes out at 15 gauge, so I'm using 15 gauge metal.
Mhm.
And it takes a little muscle. It's got a little counterweight on there too to help me make that bend, but it is very satisfying when it works.
I've got a hydraulic brake. It's like a hydraulic press from Harbor Freight, but it's a brake that fits in there. And yeah, I mean, even using that, like, you gotta crunch down on it to get some thicker stuff to bend. But
Yeah.
that's awesome. So I had some comments. I used my metal fab in this last video where I made the little yellow table. And just be prepared. It's the laser CNC thing all over again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where they're like, because mine was like, look, I can weld aluminum now, because I did weld aluminum and it worked, and it's a good weld, and it penetrated and all this stuff. And there were so many comments that were like, oh yeah, you can weld aluminum now that you have this expensive welder. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, isn't that the same as if you had a cheap welder and you welded aluminum with it? Like, what does that have to do with it? Just because I don't have the skill to TIG weld doesn't mean that this thing doesn't legitimately weld, you know. Anyway.
Right. The very first time I welded with it, I was just using carbon steel. And I really thought I did something wrong because I couldn't even see much filler material, and I didn't see the seam. And I was like, oh, my settings must be wrong, but I chose the default. And then I go and look at it. I'm like, oh, there is a seam there. Oh, it went all the way through to the bottom. It welded itself to the table. Like it feels like you're doing something wrong because it doesn't use that much filler material, and it's completely different than like a MIG weld, and it feels like freaking magic. And then the CNC portion of it, it doesn't care what size metal you put in there. It just cuts right through it. It's crazy.
Yeah. So what did you use to cut that thick steel? What gas did you use for the steel that's that thick?
Compressed air.
Wow. Okay.
Whenever I'm using, so I go over it in the video of like when to use nitrogen, argon, or compressed air. It's like if you want a super clean cut, you want to use nitrogen on most things, especially like stainless steel or aluminum, because it'll give you a cut that you won't even have to clean up at all. But I only have argon, and I don't want to use argon for cutting, so I just use compressed air. So there's a little bit of dross on the back. You can actually dial in the settings even more and get rid of almost all of it. And so I just use compressed air anytime I'm doing a cut because it's just easier and cheaper.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was using too, but I just assumed for that thick steel you would probably have to use something else, but that's great.
Yeah. I cut, and I did an example in the video of hand cutting, not in the CNC, just a hand cut. And I cut 1/4 inch with compressed air, and it worked fine.
Wow. They've emailed me a couple times, and just now while we've been on the phone, I forwarded it to Mark. I was like, because I'm waiting on stuff from another company, but I haven't heard from them. So I was like, well, we'll see where this goes. So I just now with you, so the three of us might end up with X tools.
And you know, the package that they sent me, and I understand the privilege here. It's a $17,000 package. That's bonkers. I would not buy this on my own, but it's not really for the weekend warrior or the hobbyist. It's for somebody who wants to make a product in their home. And I could see, like, I talk about it in the video, but like you, you could pay somebody else. You could send things to send, cut, send, and then you could get the parts back, and then you could prototype, and then you could have this back and forth, and that's going to cost you a lot of money over time. Or you can invest in yourself and get the equipment that you need to do it at home, and then have the option of making more stuff in the future. So one of my plans right now is I've been avoiding products for a long time, but I think now I have enough equipment where I should really start thinking about what products I can make at home. And we'll I mean, I hate shipping and all that, but I also, the YouTube channel is not going to last forever, which is I need to invest in the future. So what cool products can I come up with?
Well, and to that, I mean, I think you're in an interesting position with the stuff that you've made, the furniture that you've made, the kind of unique changes that you've made to things, where you've built this visual, like, I don't know what the right word for it, reference guide as to like what you create, what it looks like. You have, there's a look to Picciuto stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so you making a product could be not necessarily just knocking out 100 of a thing that one of your machines can make, but 5 pieces that are this unique design to you, and then you sell that because somebody wants one of your pieces, one of your side tables, or one of your whatever.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it takes the artist thing and the product thing and really puts them together to where it's like limited quantity, handmade, that's cool. I couldn't do that.
I mean, the legs that I made for this, I think I could sell these legs. I don't know how much I could sell them for. I would really have to price things out and see how much time. Most of the time is in the bending. But really the bending takes 2-3 minutes per leg.
And you'd have huge arms after you're done.
Yeah. My problem is my brake is not permanently attached to the bench, and so I'm clamping it down, and then when I do the big long bend, the bench wants to lift up too. So if I had it like a base, it would make it a lot easier. I just don't have the room for some of this stuff. But so I drew up the legs in Fusion 360 and doing the sheet design. I'm not sure what that section is called, but I drew up the legs. And then you go in and you say, I want to bend here, and then I want to bend here, and I want to bend here. And then you have this cool thing. And then you can go back into your original drawing and change the size. It feels like magic. I can change the height and the width of everything. And then when you're done, you can tell Fusion to give me the flat file for it. And it just gives you a DXF file. And then you can cut. It's still mind-blowing to me that these tools are available to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Fusion.
Yeah, the sheet metal thing is really cool because it'll just unfold down into a flat version of the thing.
Yeah,
which you can then cut or whatever. Yeah, it's very cool. I like the table. I like the legs.
Thank you. Yeah, I went to Home Depot for the tabletop. I just went to Home Depot and got some of that engineered decking. Mm-hmm. And so that's just one piece of decking. So it's made for outdoors. And it won't rot, doesn't need any finish or anything.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I have not been up to much.
End of story.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, really, I think I talked about last week. Oh, well, that wasn't on this show. I did another podcast. And I was talking about how I was going to take a couple of days to brainstorm and just try to come up with the next few ideas. And I have done that, but that's really about all I've done. It's been, school started for the kids yesterday. And so kind of ramping up to that, it's just been, trying to take care of life stuff and catch up. And so I really have not been productive at all. I've got a couple of pretty silly projects coming up. So the brainstorming was good because it led me past the obvious next projects into something that's dumb and funny, I think. And so it'll be fun. I'm starting on that stuff today, and I'll talk about that in next couple weeks. But also this, and I can't say specifics about this because I signed NDAs, but I've signed 2 NDAs in the last 3 weeks for new products that are coming out from companies that I like, that I have worked with before or have products from before. And there's like some really cool stuff coming out. And I really want to talk about it. But it's also just really cool that these people reached out to me and said like, hey, we want to see what you do with this thing before anybody else knows that it exists. And so there's a couple of really cool things that I'm getting to kind of brainstorm around, like what would I do with that, and how could I use that? And yeah, so unfortunately I can't say anything else about it.
Come on now.
Now I'm so curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
I have
guess.
one guess, but I'll save it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you after the after show.
Okay.
In the after show. Yeah. So I guess real quick, because we didn't really fully explain it at the beginning of the show, the Making It 500, our 500th episode live. I was on another woodshop podcast the other day, and I was talking to them about it. And one of the guys thought that it was a virtual event. So he bought a ticket, not realizing, it's a free ticket, but he got a ticket.
Not realizing he has to come.
Yeah. So he is not going to come. But I never thought about the fact that maybe other people don't realize that this is an actual physical event where all of us are getting together in a place in Boston. So in case was not clear. Yeah. Yeah. You have to be there.
What?
In case anybody doesn't realize that, this is outside of Boston. We're getting together September 6th, and it's free. We're just asking people to sign up for tickets just so they can have a head count and stuff. But it's at a middle school auditorium, I think, if I remember correctly.
That sounds right.
And we're just going to get together, and there's going to be multiple things happening on stage, and it's just going to be a good afternoon of fun. And then, but it's outside of Boston. The link for the tickets are, that link will be in the show notes. So if you want to join us, we'd love to see you. Whether you're a patron or not, the patrons got the link first. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of them there, but we would love to see everybody who's a listener. And while we're on that subject, David and I were talking about stats the other day. And this is like inside baseball stuff. We were talking about like listens for the show. And looking back historically we've been doing this podcast for a really long time. And, the numbers of people listening they were really low at first, and then they went up really high, and they've come down a little bit, and now they're kind of like in the middle. And we have a really high ratio of listeners to Patreon supporters, which is amazing. Like an unusually high ratio.
Yes.
Which is awesome, but it got me thinking about the fact that I don't know how we push this show to other people who don't already know about it. And so I don't have anything declarative to say or anything, but I was just wondering, like, how do we being the three of us and everybody listening right now, how do we get more people to listen to this show that are not Patreon supporters? Like, I would love it to be useful to more people.
Yeah. I have been told that people didn't even know that we had a podcast. It's like, I will casually mention it in a video every once in a while. But maybe I really need to say
About
it
once a
every
month,
once in a while.
somebody will say to me, somebody that knows me well will be like, you should do a podcast. I'm like, you mean another one? Oh, you do one? I'm like, yeah, for 10 years now. Oh, I didn't know.
A simple way to do that would be kind of non-invasive. We should probably do this off mics rather than like right now, but we're going to do that.
Yeah. This is why people listen.
A way to do that, I guess, would just be to make like a little pop-up, that says like, hey, we have a podcast. It's me and these guys. And just put it in the corner of all the videos or every fifth video or something, like I don't promote it.
I'll start adding it. I have a YouTube channel, so I'll start adding it to the bottom of my YouTube
You
channel.
do?
I do, yeah.
Oh, man.
Tell me more.
Send me a link to your YouTube channel.
I make things
cute.
that film it. Yeah.
That's cute.
That's cute.
How do you make a living? Do you make money?
I don't get that as much anymore. I think it's pretty well known.
Like you're at a wedding or a party, family party, and like, hey, what's going on? So you still doing that YouTube thing? I'm like, yeah. And like, "Hey, do you make money?" Like as if they're gonna like hand me a 10 just to help me. Like, you
Yeah.
making
Oh,
money
you
at that?
poor thing. Here, let me help you out a little bit. One time I was at a family, I think it was a funeral. I don't remember. It was at some family thing or a bunch of family there. And one of my cousins was there that I hadn't, he was a couple of years older than me. I hadn't seen him in many years. And we're pretty different types of people. So we never hung out a whole lot. Anyway, we're at this thing. We're sitting next to each other, kind of trying to catch up. And he's like, "So what do you do now?" And I was like, "I make YouTube videos." And he legitimately said, "You mean like cat videos?" And I was like,
Me and my
"Yep."
cat make things in the
I
workshop.
just nodded yes. And like, I'm going to leave it there. And then his brother came over and explained the whole thing. But it was really funny because I was just like, yeah, basically cat videos.
And my cat
All right.
plays my piano.
The end. Moving on. Anyway. Yeah, so I think all three of us should work to maybe promote this show a little bit more. But
I think so.
I would
Yeah.
also like to ask anybody listening, if you think that's it's a good podcast, if you enjoy listening to us think out loud at each other, tell somebody about it. That'd be awesome. You don't have to, but if everybody told one person and that one person listened, we would have twice as many people listening in a week. Like that would be crazy, you know.
It's funny. I was pushing really hard. I'm like, we got to do a video version of this, guys. We put the video version out. It's going to take off. We're going to be famous. Everything is going to be set. We can retire. And I'm sorry for pushing that because it really didn't take off as much as I thought it would.
I mean, some people enjoy having it on in the background and looking at it. I
20
don't know why,
views.
but they do. There is a video. Yeah, there's a YouTube channel for the podcast, and you can listen to it. You can watch it. You can put it on and not watch it. You can do whatever. But we did have a topic, kind of, that you guys came up with beforehand.
Something about school memories, what we like, school lessons, stories, things.
Yeah.
In,
Well, it started
things in
out-
school.
Our early influence, early education.
Early education.
I mean, it started
like
out
that.
because you guys took like wood shop type classes in school. I never did.
Was it offered?
I don't. Maybe I honestly don't know. I was in band, and so usually like through high school and in our school, if you were in band, you didn't have the opportunity to take other classes, and I don't know, like non-essential classes. Your electives were kind of like band was it basically. So it could have been offered, and I just didn't have the opportunity to take it. I don't really know. But how big of it? I'm like, what did that do for you taking those types of classes in high school?
For me, when I went to middle school, which I guess is like 7th, 8th, 9th grade, 7th, and 8th grade, I'm thinking, I guess 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So 7th and 8th grade was my middle school. And I went to industrial arts. And it was down the end of this hallway where one side was the wood shop, the other side was the metal shop. And I told you guys before we started this, the teacher that I had in 7th and 8th grade was Mr. Ferrara. And when you get to high school, you took a different Mr. Ferrara. There was two of them, but they were not related. And the Mr. Ferrara in middle school, we did woodwork, and it was basic introduction to tools. But I grew up with my dad, so I had been playing with all this stuff. So I sat there quietly, like all cocky, like I know how to do that. I know what a hammer is. I know how to do that. I could do that. But I didn't say anything. I just sat there and just listened. And then I was already a little bit skilled and dexterous with a lot of these materials. So we made a toolbox similar to the ones that I sold at Walmart, and a couple of other things, just like a pole with a nail in each end for the handle, and real simple. And I remember we weren't allowed to use the saws. So we had a jigsaw, everything, but coping saw with a hand, like in a vise. And that was kind of annoying because I was like, can't I just use the bone saw? I know what I'm doing. We had to use the coping saw.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, I was like, don't you know that I'm going to have a YouTube channel in 48 years from now?
Gosh.
And I was always jealous because across the hall, there was the metal class. And I never knew how to get in the metal class. I was too shy to ask. But I wish I had taken the metal class in 7th and 8th grade. I remember this kid he must have plasma cut it, which is crazy because thinking back now, like it was such a foreign idea. He had a thing that said Cheap Trick because that band was hot at that time.
Oh.
And he made a spider web out of rod. He bent it up in the vise and welded it together. and it said Cheap Trick across it, like the letters Cheap Trick cut out. Now, they either hand bandsaw it. I don't know how he did it, but I was like, man, I want to do that. And
I
they
just
never.
picture your high school like every movie. Like there are people like smoking
Fast Times.
cigarettes right outside the door, jean
Fast Times at
jackets.
Ridgemont High. That's
Yeah,
exactly my year.
exactly. Yeah.
Last times I think it was 90, it was 82, 81, 82. I graduated in
hmm
85. It was exactly the same.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's funny, last night something popped up. I guess that was a Cameron Crowe movie because there was a bunch of pictures from behind the scenes of Fast Times. It was really funny to see all those pictures because that was my childhood.
Did you ever
That's
have
one
a
of my
pizza
favorite
delivered
movies.
to one of your classes?
What?
Did you ever have a pizza delivered to one of your classes? Like
No, right here, right here. That's funny.
That's my skull.
The best thing
I
is,
love that
I got an awesome. My dad's got an awesome set of tools. He can fix it.
movie. Can we do
I
an
wanna buy
episode
the
on Fast Times?
silver Trans Am. I always wanted that car.
Oh,
Uh,
man.
And then I got to high school, and then it was a little bit more of an upscale version. But what was sad was because I graduated, so that was 84, 85 when I went to the high school shop class versus the middle school shop class. And there was a different Mr. Ferrara. And that class, there was all pushed into the corner was all the printing press equipment. Not going to do that anymore. No one's allowed to touch the printing press equipment. I remember seeing the paper chopper and being like, why would they have that? Anybody can cut the hand off on it. It was like pushed to the corner and like taped so that you couldn't move the handle because anybody could immediately like just cut someone's hand off. And also the workshop, there was a cars half worked on. That was it, and the print press was all pushed into that room. It was a different room. You had to walk through and then you're in the garage that would have opened to outside. It was all shoved into one room, and they're like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. We don't do auto anymore. So it was auto and printing that were basically shut down. We just had the wood class. And I remember making a checkerboard out of solid maple and walnut. And we put it in the case in school because it came out so good. But I remember walking past the case one day and seeing that it was like starting to split in half because it was all just solid chunks of wood. I had no concept of wood movement at the time. And the teacher wasn't teaching that. He just wanted to make sure people just kept busy. And I remember seeing the big crack down the middle. I'm like, oh man, why is it breaking apart? The glue doesn't work. That was my first lesson about wood movement. And that checkerboard is at my mother's house in 3 pieces. That original crack is right down the middle, and then the border had fallen off one of the sides. And I'm like, I'm going to finish that. I'm going to fix that. It just sits there. It's like 40 years later. I'm going to fix that. So no, that was. But when I went to high school, I spent 3 years at BOCES, which is a thing here in Long Island and maybe all the Northeast. Board of Cooperational Educational Services, BOCES, and you go to learn a trade. And I went for architecture and math at the urging of my father. And I actually was my dad pushed me into it, but I was happy. I really enjoyed it. So for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, I spent half my day in architectural design, and half of that day would be spent in math. So I learned geometry, trigonometry, and physics, which by the end I was completely lost. I had to cheat on my Regents physics exam to graduate high school. I said to the kid in front of me, I said, just let me see your answers. I said, I'm never going to do this. Just let me cheat. He's like, sure. And I remember him moving his elbow to let me look at his answers. I just said, dude, just let me cheat off you. I said, because he was a real nerd. I knew he was going to get all the answers right. And, but I was really more,
like physicist now or something.
Right.
Nerd.
Nerd. And so I wanted to just do design. That was when I started realizing just like making things was really, I'd always been making things, but the idea of making things as a career, I really got focused while I was at BOCES because the teachers were all working professionals. My teacher, Tony Fiak-Tistoff, if I'm saying his name correctly, designed McDonald's all around the Northeast. He would go look at a site and design the McDonald's within the branding. And he was the one who also brought us to the newly opened Trump Tower in New York City. We all hopped in a bus in Long Island and drove 25 miles to Manhattan to go to Trump Tower. I told this story before, but it was he walked us through the lobby. It was a bus full of architectural students walking around, and It had just opened maybe a year or two before that. Yeah. So my education at BOCES was great, and even my earlier education when it comes to shop class. But I remember it was right when those rules started kicking in about liability and budgets, because we didn't really use the lathe. We didn't really take advantage of the full shop. Like certain things were like shut down. Like I said, the print and the mechanics class was shut down. It's like you could tell Mr. Farrar was frustrated. He's like, "Yeah, we don't do that anymore." That's like all he said. So, but it definitely got me on a path, knowing that I wanted to make things for a living. It came so natural to me, I didn't even have to make a decision. It wasn't like, okay, now college, what am I going to do for college? I ended up not going to college right away because I was too confused, because math was a hurdle for me. And so I met a friend who said, you can go to art school like me, a friend that had graduated a year or two before me. And he encouraged me. He said, I go to the School of Visual Arts. It's really cool. It's in Manhattan. There's like lots to do. And that's really where I got the bug to go to the School of Visual Arts from my friend Perry. I signed up for School of Visual Arts 1 year after I graduated high school. And I got it. The other thing too is they put a lot of stress on the SAT test. They probably still do. I don't know, Bob, if your kids are all stressing out about that. I remember they put so much stress on it, and I didn't really understand what it meant. Nobody explained it to me clearly. If they did, I wasn't paying attention. So I can't really fault the school. A lot of times I was daydreaming. But when we did the PSAT, I heard PSAT over and over and over. I didn't even know what it stood for. PSAT. I'm like, okay, all right, we're going to take the PSAT. I took it, probably hungover, because I used to drink in the schoolyard all the time. And then months later, it was like, okay, we got to take the SAT. I'm like, it sounds familiar. Didn't we do that already? They're like, no, that was the practice test. I'm like, how did I not know that? How did they not know that was just simply a practice test that meant nothing? I thought I was past that. Now I got to do it again, and now it means something? And they put so much stress on me as a student that I was like, I'm just going to go get a job as a mechanic. I don't have to deal with any of this stuff. It like made me literally overlook a better education, because the PSAT for me was such a mental hurdle and such a stumbling block for me that I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why I had to take it. Again, if somebody said this, which they probably did, I just was daydreaming. This is a test to see where you are, see what your aptitude is, to see what you qualify for, in simple terms. This is a test just to see what you've picked up till now and what you probably should do better in going forward. That's it. Like that simple explanation would have cleared up so much for me. But I was shy, introverted, and also, like I said, I daydreamed all the time. I would just doodle in my notebook and not listen to anything. In high school, I realized early on that 65 was a passing grade. And that was my goal through all of the 3 years of high school, outside of art school. Regular high school, when I was going to architecture school, I obviously wanted to excel there. But regular high school, as long as I got a 65, I didn't care. That was it, as long as I passed. And that's why even with that physics test, as long as I passed that, all the art and design was the most important thing to me. I didn't care that I cheated. It didn't bother me. It was no emotional attachment to math. I was like, it has nothing to do with my ability to design and look at things and think what I like and what I combine visually and mentally. Math, I thought, hadn't, math factors into it. But when I'm going to build an archway in my driveway or this or that, I'll just hire some nerd that has a calculator to do that. To say, what are the stresses on this forces and on this arch and this connection? What is the tension? If you need to know all that, tell me the best concrete to get. But I know what I want it to look like.
Right.
And that's when I really started focusing on what it looks like. And the uniqueness of the design. And when it came to all this other technical stuff, when it comes to math and science and all this stuff that you needed in school, the things that I genuinely weren't attracted to, I was like, as long as I get a 65, I'm able to be let out at the end of this adventure. I don't care.
So I think there is still a problem. I mean, because my kids are going through a lot of I have 3 in high school right now and 1 in middle school. So they're going through college prep stuff and trying to figure out what they want to do after high school, and test scores and GPAs and how all that stuff factors into what they want to do next, whether it matters or not.
All that was so foreign to me. It was really funny because...
But I think that the thing is now, they still don't do a great job. Any school, I don't think, does a great job of explaining if and when that stuff matters. Because sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And it's weird for them to be the education system, and I'm not going to rant about this, but the education system is really built around test taking and about checking off good enough in this category and good enough in this category. And so a lot of the stress that kids have these days is about these benchmarks that are set either by them or by the state or whatever that they have to meet. But they don't necessarily understand, like you're saying, why they have to meet them or what it's going to affect. And so now, at least around here, the ACT is the big test that everybody has to take. And it's a similar thing to the SAT, but it's a different scoring system and everything. And they get told that they have to take this test to be able to, get scholarships. But that's as specific as it gets. And so it's just like, do well. Well, what does that mean? How do the different levels of well affect what's next in your life and whether it matters or not? So now we've been touring colleges and talking to admissions people and stuff. And so we're finding out that a lot of the schools, at least in state here, are test optional, which means you can submit a test score and it only matters if it helps you. Whereas when I was growing up, it was like, if you get a bad ACT score,
You're working at a gas
that's going to
station.
hurt you trying to go to college. I don't know if that was actually the case or that was just the perception. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But either way, I think there's not a lot of great explanation still on about whether the testing side of things is useful, whether passing grades in math matters versus excelling. But I will say that now that we're starting to look at schools and scholarships, there's this is a whole nother conversation, but there are built-in scholarships for our kids that they don't even have to apply for if their GPA is at a certain place and their ACT score is at a certain place. It's just an automatic, here's some money towards your tuition.
Wow.
Which is kind of amazing. They don't have to justify themselves. They don't have to write essays. Those are a different level of scholarship. But if they would just tell them at the beginning of high school, look, if you can keep this GPA and you can get this score, you're going to get basically half of your tuition for free. If they told a kid that, they would work towards that. But nobody tells them that. We didn't find that until, senior year of high school, that this was even how things worked. And anyway, there's a lot to it, but yes, I feel exactly what you're saying about that.
Once I realized, once I knew I was going to have trouble with math, which became perfectly clear in my senior year, going to architecture school was no longer an option for me. And outside of that, I had no idea what to do. I hadn't picked a college that I wanted, and all these kids were holding pamphlets and going to see these pre-college things, and I never understood. And it's obviously at this point, and I realize looking back, it's a family cultural thing. My dad was a fireman. His father worked at a sewage plant. My mother's father was a fireman. My mother went to secretary school. My uncle was a fireman. My mother's brother was a fireman. That was my culture that I grew up. Nobody that I knew was right in my immediate circle, even went to college, talked about college, had an alumni, wore an alumni shirt or a shirt from where they ever came from. Everything my whole life was fire department and police. And that's all I knew. And I knew that was never in the cards for me. It was never even the slightest bit of I'm going to be a fireman when I grow up. It just never was. I was never that kid. And all the kids I hung out with, a lot of them did. I'm going to be a fireman. I'm going to be a policeman. I didn't have any options. And I didn't understand how these kids knew they wanted to go to BU. And I'm they're collecting schools playing cards or pop bands. I'm how do you even know? How do you, where in the world? There was no internet, you got to remember. So it's just literally word of mouth. Somebody becomes completely attracted to Boston University. And then they're wearing a Boston University shirt before they even graduate 11th grade. I'm I don't even understand. It was so foreign to me. So that's why when I graduated high school, I just worked at the sign shop. I was that's it. I'm going to be a sign maker until I'm 85 years old. And then life unrolled for me after that, meeting certain friends that guided me.
David, I want to hear about your high school stuff.
Yeah.
Let me say one thing real quick, though. To
Sure.
you saying, Jimmy, that it wasn't a family thing. That is the absolute case in at least where I live. There are a lot of families who just never had college as an option for them.
Yeah.
And in visiting colleges, I've found that there are several schools who offer free tuition to people who are the first one in their family to go to college.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Which is unbelievable. Like, free everything. If you're the first one in your family, and this is not every school, but if you're the first one in your family to go to college, you can go for free. Room and board, tuition.
Incredible.
Go to
That was
school.
me.
That's
I was
amazing.
the first one to go to college on my mom and my dad's side. Well, no, my mom went to college. She didn't graduate. She only went one semester. But I'm the first one in my entire family to graduate college.
That's awesome.
It was just an associate's degree, but I was the first one.
It's still a college degree. I mean,
Still a college degree. And look at me now, guys.
My oldest brother
Hey,
went into the Marine
YouTuber.
Corps.
I'm a
My
YouTuber.
My oldest brother went into the Marine Corps, so I always considered that as an option because I thought that looked cool. And then my other brother, John, was like a party animal. He's like an entertainer now, so it's no surprise there. He was like Blutarsky from Animal House. That was like his college trajectory. So he went to New Paltz College and got kicked out after one semester for being drunk and high all the time. Took him one semester to get kicked out. 2 months they kicked him out. So for me, that wasn't an option because it's like, I'm not going to that type of school where you just drink and party all the time. I'll kill myself. And so I just said, I'll just go work at the sign shop and see what life holds for me. So those are my role models. Either be in the Marine Corps or work at the sign shop. Those are my two options.
Yeah. So David, what did you take? You took woodshop, right? In high school?
I did. First, I just want to say, like, I could listen to Jimmy's journey all day because it really does give a lot of insight into how you think and why you are the way you are, which is absolutely amazing. So,
Thank you.
if you ever need a YouTube idea, I think just talking about your education would be an amazing vlog that would be very valuable to a lot of people.
That's a good idea.
Actually, go back to some of those places and show them. Like, that would be,
yeah. Oh, that would be great. So, I remember in 7th grade, I took a industrial arts class, and it was a relative that taught it, Mr. Contact. And I remember, I think industrial arts was mandatory. I remember I had to make a little metal container that had to hold water. So we had to braze it or solder it or something. Had to hold water. I remember encasing a penny in colored epoxy, 2 different colors. And then there was a wood element. We had to design a house and make the structure out of small little pieces of wood. And I don't have any of those things anymore, but that was my first introduction into any kind of making besides mandatory art classes. And then in high school, I was a very, very bad student. Like, I barely passed each grade. And if you don't believe me, there's a photo on my Instagram of one of my grade cards. Like, it's like D, F, D minus, and then there's like 1 C plus on there.
Those are all my grades outside of art.
I just didn't. I enjoyed going to school. I just didn't pay attention. I didn't enjoy the work, especially anything that had to be done at home. I was terrible at homework. Like, I kind of felt like, oh, when I go home from school, that should be it. Now it's playtime. And so there was 3 levels of wood. There was like introduction to wood, wood shop, and then advanced. And I took the advanced class twice. So I think I took wood shop every year in high school. And then my wood shop grade is on that Instagram thing. I forget what it is. It might be like a D or something. I'll look. But I didn't take wood shop because I enjoyed making things. I took wood shop so I could get out of my class and out of bookwork. I just wanted to be standing up and doing stuff. Oh, I found it. So first semester C plus in wood shop, second semester C plus. My exam I got a C, and then for the semester I got a C plus. And then my other classes like geometry, we're talking D's all across the board. Biology, D's and C's. Like, I just did not do very good in high school. I just didn't care. But so I took all that. I took all those wood classes, not because I enjoyed making things, it's just because I didn't want to take regular classes. My mom still has a bowl that I made on the lathe. And I remember in one of the advanced classes, I had to make this bookshelf. You could make anything you want. I chose to make like this bookshelf that had like different layers. It was like a little cabinet. And school ended before I could actually finish it. So it never got sanded and never got a coated finish, but it went on to my apartments and everything. And I remember when I was in a band, we were renting out this room on the second floor of this old building, and we had that in there, and it was just holding various pieces of things. And then one day we were just throwing stuff off the top of the roof, like TVs and stuff. And that bookcase went off the top of the roof onto the parking lot and smashed.
Nice.
I think even from early on, I never really had an attachment to the things that I made. And I didn't go to college until 4 years after graduating high school. I realized I didn't want to work at Kmart for the rest of my life. And so I chose graphics. It was called graphics, but think of it as graphic design, or it wasn't called graphics. It was called something communication, graphic communication, something along those lines.
Commercial art was always kind of a generic term that I heard
Yeah.
growing up. Commercial art.
And I chose that because not because I had any connection to design or drawing or advertising. I just chose that because I didn't want to work at Kmart, and that sounded like the most fun. And then it turns out I did develop that connection to drawing and design and the way things look, because I had some instructors that were just life-changing. Mr. Jones, who I reached out to earlier this year to thank him. Like, Mr. Jones was so, and I didn't understand this at the time, but was so about the details of everything. When you turn something in college, so you make a mock layout of an advertisement, or I did a lot of like CD covers or cassette J cards. You had to mount it on mat board, which was the whole thing. And then it had to have this piece of tracing paper that flipped over to protect it. And all of that you had to do all of that to turn it in. And we got graded and judged on not just the layout, but the presentation of it. And I didn't understand that at the time. And I was just like, I already did all the work. Why do I got to do all this other work? But now the details matter so much to me. And it's why I fuss about little things. And maybe I fuss a little too much, and I get a little emotional when things don't work out, or the detail that I was been working on all day didn't come out the way I wanted it to. But Mr. Jones, man, he had such an impact on my life. It just changed my course.
Wow. And so
And
you
now I
reached
can't
out
stop.
to him earlier this year?
Yeah. So I found him. He's definitely is like a, how do I say this? He had a
You don't have to.
personality. He had a very distinct personality. When you walked into his class, you're like, whoa, we are in for a treat. So he was an African-American preacher. So he spoke like that all the time. He's like, big, huge pauses. I have big, huge pauses, but it's just because I'm awkward and I talk faster than I can think. But he had big, huge pauses for dramatic effect. He's like, today, we're going to learn about balance. And like, so like it was
great.
Every class was just so absolutely amazing. And so he's retired, but he's still a preacher. And so I found his church and I found his email, and I sent him an email. I'm like, Dr. Jones, he was the Dr. Jones. And I was like, you had such an impact on my life. Thank you. And he just replied back with, great to hear from you. Thanks. And I was like, did I? And that's all the reply I really needed. But this person changed my life. Like, he set me on a different course. And I just really wanted him to know that he had a huge impact.
Yeah. That's really cool. Well, we're an hour in. I don't really need to tell you about my high school. I
Come
think
on.
your all's is
one.
more interesting than mine was. I will say a couple of things. The one thing that kind of came up that I was thinking about as you all were talking about that, kids now, at least in our area, I know different schools do it different ways, but we don't have a wood shop. We don't have any sort of welding class that I'm aware of. The high schools around us, that end of education has moved into engineering. And so my kids have gotten to take engineering classes. Even my middle schooler is taking an advanced robotics class. And so I know from one of my other kids taking this class last year, or the year before, that they learn a little bit of fusion. They learn to model, basic stuff. But then they're also doing Vex robotics. And so they learn about some basic programming. They learn about electronics components and motors and how to, the physics of getting a robotic system to do something that they want it to do. And it's interesting because I think there's a lot of value in teaching people the engineering aspect of, they can take a whole track through middle and high school that is engineering focused, and they learn a whole bunch of stuff, but there's a lot of the practical hands-on, look, Mom, I made this thing at school, that doesn't happen. There's no way for that to happen. I guess that's supposed to happen in art now, but at the same time, you can't take an art class and expect to teach kids, about color and about drawing and about cutting wood and about, they just can't do it all. So I think there's a lot of that hands-on stuff that has been replaced with just the more, I don't know, like engineering-minded, how things work, which is good in a different way, but it's not the same. Anyway, my son that's about to take this robotics class, the cool thing about it is he doesn't have any experience with that. But the first day that today's their second day of school. So the first day yesterday, he went in, this teacher came in, is really excited about it, is telling him all about the robotic stuff that they're going to be doing. He's already got this room set up with all of the equipment, and like they are ready to jump in. And the first day, he's like, we're going to Vex World, which I guess is some big, like competition event where they all get together. But the thing I like about it is that he's taking these kids who have no experience in something, and he's saying, we have a goal this year. I'm going to teach you and help you build something to a point to where we can take it, and we're going to compete. It's not if we get done in time. It's not if we can afford it. We are going to compete at this thing that is a big deal in this world. And so there's some incentive for them to dig in and understand this stuff. He's making it exciting already. And I think that spirit, at least, is what you were talking about, David, is somebody who is excited enough about teaching a thing, whatever that thing is, that can get the kids excited about learning the thing. I also wish that it was woodworking and metalworking and stuff. But, at this point, we'll kind of take what we can get. But anyway, I had a similar experience to you in that somebody really invested in me in my second couple of years of high school in regard to art classes, and she changed the trajectory of. Actually, she gave me a trajectory. I didn't have one before then, and so it changed me from being I don't really care about school and I'm not going to try very hard even though I could, to now I have a thing that I want to go do, and she helped me catch up and overcome my laziness to be prepared to go to college, to an art school. And she made a big impact on me. She passed away a few years ago, and I got to see her at a school event before that and was able to tell her the same kind of things. Like, you changed all of these things about my life. And that was really, really cool. Someday we should talk about, and we've probably done this in some of our 8 million episodes, but we should talk about specifically in college, the stuff that took us from wanting to learn these things, like in the art school and the design school area, from what we wanted to learn to the practical, we came out of school with these new skills. Because I think there's probably a lot of unknown around what art school actually teaches you. So I think that would be a cool thing to talk about at some point. But that's for another time. Any other thoughts on early education stuff for you guys?
No, just I guess you got to always. There's always going to be that one thing that. There's always going to be that one moment in time where you start to really pay attention. For me, it took some time, but regular school, I was just going through the paces. Regular school, but when I got to art school, that's when it clicked.
Yeah, I never really. I don't like the idea of a test that you take that's in one particular little moment in time can determine your course, your college. Like you can get a scholarship if you get if you get a certain score on a test. There are certain people who are wired a certain way who just don't do well on a test, but the entire body of work, their entire knowledge of work is so much greater. I think that's me. Like I never did well on tests because of the pressure, and it sounds like maybe that's going away. And I'm sure there's studies saying people do differently on tests. And I don't know. I just don't judge me by one of my videos. Judge me by my body of videos.
Yeah. Judge me by my body.
Judge me by my...
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out. That came out great.
One of the other things about the testing now that I wasn't aware of until we've started learning all this stuff is that at least with the ACT, it's broken up into, there's like a reading section, a writing section, a math section, a science section, which apparently they're getting rid of, which doesn't make any sense to me. But there's these different sections within the test. And your final score that gets sent to colleges is called a super score, which means it's the best of each one of those things put together. So I think this might be kind of new in that you can take the test one time and focus really hard on math. And if you prep for the math section and you work on the math section, you can just like fail the other ones and then take it again and focus on reading, and then take it again and then focus on writing. And it takes the best scores in each one of those sections and kind of builds your super score to send off, which helps a little bit. It's still a test. It's still what you're saying, like a moment in time, which is pressure that a lot of people don't like. But I think it's kind of getting better in that you get to iterate on the test taking a little bit.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, I'm going to thank our Patreon supporters. Huge thanks to everybody over there that supports the show. And the fact that we started to understand how many of our listeners are also Patreon supporters, it's kind of mind-blowing. So we're very grateful for all of you. Just thanks for listening and thanks for supporting the show. It really does mean a lot. Especially thanks to our top supporters. They go above and beyond just listening and a little bit of contribution. They really help us out. That's Pete Rondeau, A Pretty Big Deal, Inc., Matthias Garnow, Michael Menedjan, Warren Works, The New Janky Workshop, Scott at Daddy Yourself DIY, Odin Leather Goods, Rich at Low End Design, Chad from Mancrafting, Works by Solo, Albers Woodworks, Corey Ward, and Nick Ryan. But also people like, let's go back here, Bill Davison. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you,
Bill's
Bill
been
Davison.
supporting since 2019. That's awesome. Very grateful for everybody over there. And everybody at every level gets the after show. I'm going to tell you about something that's been rattling around in my brain since you said Mr. Ferrara at the very beginning in the after show, because it's dumb and not important. So if you want to hear that dumb and not important thing, go to patreon.com/makingit, sign up and support the show at any level. You'll get the after show. You get the video after show if you want to see us instead. And you'll just help us out. And don't forget, if you want to come to the Making It 500 event, link is in the show notes.
You got to actually come.
Ticket. Come hang out. It's going to be fun.
You got to actually come.
Yeah. It's
not
a real
online.
thing in person with real people. David.
RIL.
I'm gonna do his
RIL? IRL.
in real
IRL.
life. IRL. Yes, I am going to Zoom conference you guys at the event while at the event.
You're just
your
gonna stay in your
hotel
hotel room and like
Yeah, I'm gonna feel. Well, no, we can all be we can all be on stage, but I think I'll just feel more comfortable if I'm looking at you through my computer instead of your face.
Fair enough.
We'll get a black curtain around you.
That's perfect.
We can all be in little cubicles next to each other on stage. We can't actually see each other.
That's a live show right there. That's amazing.
Cool. You guys got anything to recommend this week?
You know what? I kind of binged watched this guy last week. It was recommended to me a long time ago, and I started watching it again this week because it popped up again. Professor Dave Explains. This guy's a scientist teacher, but the best part about what he does is he debunks all these wackadoodles that go on all these macho podcasts, and they talk about all these crazy theories. So he does these crazy breakdowns of why they're wrong, and it's really fun. And in the process of him telling you what they're explaining is wrong, he tells you what is right based on the historical record. But some of these bro podcasts will be like, it's a whole new theory, it's different. That's a little bit. He delves into unraveling a lot of the conspiracy theory historical wave that has come along lately. And it's funny to watch him. And he's really good with the receipts. Really good. It's obviously very educated. And just by listening to him explain why something's wrong, you get a tremendous... And he has tons of lessons, too. With physics, I should really start watching. He does a whole thing on math. He's got 190 videos on math. Professor Dave Explains. But his biggest videos are the ones where he debunks popular garbage science.
Cool. Okay.
He basically watches Rogan and takes everybody that goes on Rogan. And there, I said it.
You sold that's what sold me. Like, all right, subscribes.
Yeah, I'm not a Rogan fan.
Yeah, I'm not a Rogan fan either.
Cool.
All right, mine is The Great Endorsement. I think this was recommended to me a couple of months ago, maybe by a listener. I don't remember how I came across it, but his latest video was just 10 days ago, and it's only got 879 views. And when you watch it, it's called How to Build a Snare Drum. And when you watch it, you're like, this video is so freaking good. How has less than 1,000 people watched this video? And it's a woodworking channel, and they're just phenomenal videos. This person deserves more of an audience.
And what's it called?
The Great Endorsement.
Oh, okay.
Link sent.
Cool. Excellent.
Did you find Professor Dave Explains? I'll send it to you.
Yeah. I found
No. Yeah, go ahead and put that in the chat.
So mine is a channel. One of our patrons sent this to me, and I can't find the email as to who it was. I didn't go looking very hard, but thank you for whoever sent it. It's a channel called the 8-Bit Guy, and the reason they sent it.
I love 8-Bit Guy. Oh yeah, one of my faves.
Cool. I had never seen his channel before, but the reason they sent it was because he has a video about taking his studio shed that's in his backyard and adding solar panels to it to power, and it's like kind of trial and error of how much power he can get out of these solar panels, and it's basically what I was thinking about doing for our shed behind our house. And so I learned a whole lot from watching it, and then he has a bunch of other stuff that's interesting to me that I haven't watched yet. So yeah, go check out the 8-Bit Guy. Let's see, I'm pulling up his channel here just to give you an idea of other stuff. So a bunch of arcade stuff, electronic stuff, 8-bit computing, old game piracy stuff. Yeah, so there's a lot there. Go check it out. You guys got anything else?
That's it.
Cool. Well, we're counting down a couple more weeks. We'll be in Boston. Hope to see everybody there.
See everybody online.
Yeah. Thanks.
We're going to win most confusing podcasts of the year award.
This was my childhood growing up in high school. That's all. It's like, wait, we have to be there on Sunday morning to take a test. How many number 2 pencils? What if I bring a number 3 pencil? Don't tell me what to do.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye. Love you.